The auction hall reeked of desperation and ozone. Mira Voss stood among the crowd of alien merchants, her worn jacket making her look even more out of place than her human features already did. Around her, Krillian traders with their crystalline exoskeletons and Vordani warbrokers with their 4 arms gestured dismissively at the merchandise on display. The war cub sat in the center of the platform, trembling. Zyra was small for her species, barely half the size she should have been at this age. Her scales, which should have shimmered with the iridescent colors of a Draknor war beast, were dull and patchy. One wing hung at an awkward angle, clearly broken and healed wrong. When the auctioneer's neural prod shocked her into standing, she could barely hold herself upright. Lot 847, the auctioneer's translator device crackled. Draknor war cub. Defective breeding. Starting bid. 50 credits. Silence filled the hall. A Krillian merchant clicked his mandibles in disgust. Waste of biomatter, someone muttered. Mira felt something twist in her chest. She'd seen that look before in the eyes of the rescue dogs back on Earth. The ones nobody wanted. The ones deemed too broken, too much trouble, not worth the effort. 40 credits. The auctioneer lowered the price. Still nothing. The war cub Zyra lifted her head slightly. Her eyes, still bright despite everything, scanned the crowd. When they landed on Mira, something passed between them. Recognition, perhaps, or simply the understanding that they were both outsiders here. 30 credits. Final offer before disposal. Mira's hand shot up. 30 credits. The hall erupted in clicking, buzzing laughter. A human buying a war cub? War beasts were trained for gladiatorial combat, for mercenary work, for imperial guards. They required specialized care, combat training facilities, neural conditioning equipment. What could a human possibly want? With a defective one, but Mira didn't care about their laughter. She transferred the credits, nearly all she had left, and approached the platform. When she got close, she could see the scars crisscrossing Zyra's body. The way her ribs showed through her scales. The infection festering around the neural implant at the base of her skull. "Come on," Mira said softly, holding out her hand. "Let's get you out of here." Zyra flinched at first, expecting pain. But Mira's hand was gentle, warm. Slowly, the war cub limped forward, and together, they left the auction hall. The first thing Mira did was remove the neural implant. She had no fancy medical equipment, just a basic toolkit and steady hands. Zyra whimpered as Mira worked, but didn't pull away. When the implant finally came free, sparking and leaking chemical suppressants, Zyra's eyes widened as if seeing clearly for the first time in years. "There," Mira whispered. "No more pain from that thing." She cleaned and dressed the wound with supplies from her meager medkit. Then came food, not the protein slurry used to bulk up war beasts quickly, but real meat, vegetables, nutrients. Zyra ate slowly at first, suspicious, then ravenously. Over the following weeks, Mira established a routine. Every morning, they'd walk through the industrial district where Mira worked odd jobs. Not forced marches or combat drills. Just walks. Zyra's muscles, atrophied from confinement, slowly began to remember their purpose. The other aliens watched with amusement. A human and a defective war cub, what a pair. But Mira ignored them. She'd learned long ago that humans had something most species didn't understand. Patience born from compassion rather than profit calculations. She talked to Zyra constantly, even though the war cub couldn't respond. She told her about Earth, about dogs and horses, and all the animals humans had partnered with throughout history. "We don't see you as tools," Mira explained one evening, gently massaging the muscles around Zyra's damaged wing. "We see you as someone worth knowing." The broken wing posed the biggest challenge. Mira couldn't afford a proper surgeon, so she studied anatomical databases and watched medical videos deep into the night. Slowly, carefully, she began physical therapy, gentle stretches, resistance exercises, hydrotherapy in the public baths when no one was looking. Zyra endured it all with growing trust. The fear in her eyes gradually transformed into something else: curiosity, then affection. 3 months in, something remarkable happened. Mira was working her shift at the loading docks when a cargo container broke free, swinging wildly toward her. Before she could move, Zyra, who'd been resting nearby, launched herself forward. Her wings, both of them, spread wide and beat the air with shocking power. She caught the container mid-swing, her claws finding purchase in the metal, her newly strengthened muscles holding it steady until workers could secure it. The docks fell silent. Zyra stood there, breathing hard, her scales now gleaming with healthy iridescence, her body filled out with proper muscle. She looked like what she was meant to be: magnificent. A Krillian supervisor approached slowly. "That war beast. That's the defective one from the auction?" Mira smiled, running her hand along Zyra's neck. She was never defective. She was just treated like a machine instead of a living being. Word spread quickly. Within days, Mira received offers to sell Zyra enormous sums that would have set her up for life. War brokers, gladiatorial rings, private collectors, all wanted the miracle war beast the human had somehow fixed. Mira rejected them all. "She's not for sale," she told a particularly persistent Vordani broker. "She never was. But humans keep pets," the broker protested. "Surely, you understand transactional relationships with animals?" Mira shook her head. "We don't keep pets. We make friends. We form partnerships. There's a difference you species never learned. You can't buy loyalty. You can't force trust. You can only earn it." 6 months after the auction, Mira and Zyra were inseparable. The war cub had grown into her full size, powerful and graceful. But more importantly, she was happy. She played, she explored. She chose to stay by Mira's side not because of neural implants or training protocols, but because she wanted to. One evening, as they sat watching the station's artificial sunset, a young Krillian approached, hesitantly. He held a leash attached to a small, trembling war cub with patchy scales and fearful eyes. I bought him at auction," the Krillian said quietly. "But I don't know what to do. The trainers say he's defective, that I should dispose of him. But I watched what you did. I wondered if you might teach me?" Mira looked at Zyra, who gazed back with those intelligent, trusting eyes. Then she smiled at the Krillian. "The first thing you need to understand," she said, "is that there's no such thing as a defective living being. Only beings who've been failed by those who were supposed to care for them. Come on, I'll show you." As more aliens began to arrive with their unwanted war cubs, Mira realized something profound. Humans had spent millennia learning to see potential where others saw only utility or waste. They'd learned to heal rather than discard, to nurture rather than exploit. And perhaps, just perhaps, that was a lesson the galaxy desperately needed to learn. Zyra nuzzled Mira's hand, and in that simple gesture was everything that made humanity special. The stubborn belief that every life had value, and the patience to prove it.